get a welcome you'll never forget.
What I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in and not getting. There ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream, live it right, that's the thing. Every night got a team, I've been tied to the scene. Out on stage, here on screen. Okay, it's a dream, and I pray as a team. One day it'll be me. If I want it, then I get it. Hey, Dad, don't regret it. Push myself to the limit. If I play it, then I win it. I'm just saying, I'm just living for today.
Welcome back to some more Camp Geek Squad. I am the camp director. Apologies in advance. I've got a bit of a cold. I've been suffering with it, but it's been getting a bit better. I'm currently playing Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker, but because the game I was going to play isn't working. I'm going back to university because I injured my finger in a trial. So I had it scanned, but because I was a little ill, decided to stay home. So I've got my mic this week. I might take it back tomorrow. Anyway, let's get started. Today's video is essentially about the characters from Naruto, like people in Naruto series, Naruto Shippuden. What skills they should have learned, or different transformations or jutsus, things like that they should have learned to make them stronger that they didn't, while still staying true with their character. Now the time of this can be anywhere from the beginning to the end. For example, I think Shikamaru should have learned something after the pain arc, and I'll explain now, so just hang on a sec. Now going into a little bit more detail of what I just said about Shikamaru should have learned something after the pain arc. Now this isn't chronological order, things I think I should have learned, but Shikamaru should have learned Sage Mode. Now, hear me out. Now, his clan is known for looking after the forests of the Hidden Leaf, and especially the deers, is it? And I actually learned this through Nick, NC Comedy Nick, NC Hammer 23 on TikTok. I'm pretty sure it's just Nick 2C's Comedy. He's one of my favorite TikTokers, so shout out to him. So I learned that from him, and in case you haven't known, that's pretty, in tune with nature. Plus, he's a keen thinker. He's lazy, yes, but he tends to be a lot slower down, less fidgety. And I think when he uses his time to think, that pose is a good pose to not fidget, bring in nature energy, and let's face it, he would be, if Naruto can keep still and concentrate, Shikamaru can too. But I think it complements his style. Now, I don't think he would be a Toad Sage. I don't know what type of sage he would be, but I don't think he'd be a Toad Sage. I think it'd be a sage we haven't seen in the show yet. But it would have made sense. One, it would boost his physical abilities. So he would be able to up his speed, his strength, which would create a massive, help in his taijutsu. Not that he's weak or anything, but it would help him hang in there with better people. But that, plus the way Naruto uses it, Naruto's very smart with it, and if Shikamaru's smarter, so Shikamaru would be able to learn would be able to usefully utilize that, the new speed, the strength, plus the more chakra, to help use his shadows more. Now that extra gain in chakra would be super helpful for the likes of Shikamaru. Because he's quite weak on chakra. I'm not saying he's weak, but he's quite low. He doesn't have the levels of most of the others in the Konoha 11. In fact, I'm not sure, other than Rock Lee, he might have the lowest amount of chakra. Now, I'm not sure if that's true. Someone can correct me on that. But I'm pretty sure he has the lowest amount. but because of his intelligence and his skill, he's one of the most powerful. In fact, if you exclude Neji, because he's dead, and then the big three, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, he's probably the most powerful up there with Rock Lee. But I think he should get Sage Mode. But the main reason I think so is not only does it boost his abilities, which with his intelligence would greatly improve him, like his intelligence plus anything he knows will greatly improve. The two main reasons, sensory and more chakra. More chakra, a lot of the time we've seen him run out of chakra. That takes away that problem. Obviously there's a timer on it, but he uses less chakra while doing it, therefore he can kind of maintain. When he runs out of the nature energy, he'll still have his chakra. So it does extend the amount of time he can use his Shadow Possession Jutsu, which, as we know, gets very strong in the Boruto series to the fact that he can hold down all the Kage, and it takes Naruto entering, using Kuruma's chakra to be able to escape it. So he's very powerful with it later on. And with that boost, he would be a lot more powerful. Think about the jump Naruto made. Naruto went from one of the strongest in the village, but not the strongest. I would say below Pervy Sage. He wasn't quite on Kakashi's level, and I think at that point in the series, Kakashi and Might Guy were probably on Jiraiya's level or just below themselves, and later go on further. But I think Naruto was probably high Jonin level, and I believe Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Might Guy were on low Kage with Tsunade at that point in the show. And Naruto jumped up to high Kage. Now I believe Shikamaru would be able to jump from Jonin level to around a Sannin level, like Jiraiya, not Jiraiya at that point, but a base Jiraiya level, if not a low Kage level himself. Because with that additional power, which as we know is a great boost, it's one of the most best things you can learn in the Naruto world, plus his intelligence and his shadow possession, I think he could dominate and win so many more fights. And I'm surprised he didn't, because after seeing someone like Pain toy with all your most powerful people, kill Kakashi, and with one move destroy your whole village, Shinra almighty push. He would, and then see Naruto come back, who he knew at the time was weaker, like before Naruto left to go train, he knew Naruto was weaker, and then to see Naruto take down 5 of the paths of pain pretty easily, then beat the 6th path of pain, and then have everyone revived by talking to Nagato, it would make sense, him seeing Naruto get that boost, would think, right, that's something this village needs. Not only Naruto, but other of us need it. And I think he should have been able to use Sage Mode. I'm pretty sure there are other jutsus I think he should learn to help him control and manipulate people to get in the shadow more, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. But I will be doing a part 2 of this episode anyway. It'll be a series. Also, just saying this now, there is no way that Shikamaru wouldn't think that there would be a possible threat more powerful than Pain. Now, I know at that point Pain was the most powerful and thought to be the leader of the Akatsuki, but I think Shikamaru would have planned, if we get another shinobi on this level or above this level, how are we going to fight him? And we can't just keep relying on Naruto, and I think he would have learned Sage Mode. And especially when he heard of the fact that Madara attacked the Kage Summit. As soon as that happened, he should have been, I think he would have learned Sage Mode. He would have talked to Naruto about it, etc. Also, now since we're talking about Sage Mode, I also think Kiba should have been able to learn Sage Mode too. I mean, think about it. And it would probably, let's be real, it would be a dog sage mode. He's got a dog. He's very close with it. That's his whole clan shtick. Now, he would be impatient, and I think he'd struggle to learn it. And I think he would be an imperfect sage. I think Shikamaru might end up being a perfect sage. I think it would take longer than Naruto, maybe. Like, Naruto's training went through learning how to sit still, etc. That bit he would do a lot quicker. But actually learning to gain sage energy, I think he would struggle with a bit more. But Kiba, I think, would struggle more in the first part, but be better with the second part. So the opposite of Shikamaru. And I think it would suit his style. Think about it. He is a taijutsu user, and he should be... he's great with the... And he literally, his whole thing is with the dog. And if he learns dog sage mode, he would get yet again, like Naruto, an extreme boost, and it would make him relevant. And I think during that time as well, he should learn to fight differently. I don't think he should transform into a dog, and I don't... Oh, no, actually, that maybe, but I don't think Kiba's dog, Akamaru, should be able to turn into a human. But I think, instead of doing all that spinny flip things, I think he should have a fighting style similar to Neji. What I mean by it is it's not the traditional fighting style, but he fights with gentle fists, and I think Kiba's clan should fight with a different style. Now, I would like it if he was the reason they changed to this style, which would be like, example, go into that mode where he's kind of got fangs and knives and fight using those claws in a taijutsu way in an aggressive manner. Plus, and then his clan slowly follows suit. And I would like it if, during the season, during Shippuden, that's what he's been working on while Naruto's been elsewhere. And during Shippuden, he's getting better and he's one of the best at taijutsu. I would say, excluding Naruto, it would be Neji, Rock Lee, and Kiba out of the guys. In fact, I think that's out of everyone, and I'll explain why with Sakura in a bit. And I think this would go really well with his character. It just fits. And I think he would be jealous of Naruto and he'd want to learn something cool. He wouldn't know what, but I think he would overhear Shikamaru talking to his father and Naruto, and probably Kakashi at this point, or Tsunade, about how it might be ideal for him and a few others to learn things as Sage Mode, and state how they won't be on Pain's level or Naruto's level, but they might be able to get to Kage/Akatsuki level if they're lucky, and if not, they would get to Seinen level, which is a lot higher than they're at now, which against the Akatsuki or any number of other threats would be a lot better. And if Naruto, and he would probably say if Naruto was to ever go rogue, or the Nine-Tail was ever to break free, they would need all the help they can get. And I think that's why and then he would say, and then he would probably bring up Kiba, and him and Kiba would go and learn Sage Mode, making the rest of the missions a bit difficult, for example. And I think the perfect way to bring him in, and that could be a whole story arc, is instead of he comes back. Yeah, anyway, that's my... No, I think next week I'm going to cover Ino and Hinata in a bit more detail, or in detail, and maybe a bit more of Sakura, but I'm going to do a bit of Sakura today, and it's simply saying, I think Sakura should both learn, and I agree with, and this would be about Naruto too, should both learn all three, and when I say all three, I mean Sage Mode, 100 healings, and the 8 gates, how to use the 8 gates. Now, I don't think they would use the 8 gates, but with 100 healings, they would be able to survive it a bit. I think Kakashi should also learn Sage Mode, and I think that's it. I'm not sure about the others. But as I was saying about Sakura, I think Sakura... I mentioned earlier saying I don't think Sakura should be one of the best taijutsu users. And Himiya, I think she should be one of them, but I think she should be behind Kiba. Now, you may be calling me sexist and or wondering why, but my reason why is I think she should have been a better healer than she is. But I would like to think that she was one of the best healers. At this point, arguably as good as Tsunade already. And that was what she was working with. And she was improving her. She has good chakra control, but she was trying to increase it a little bit, since we know chakra can increase, but obviously not by a substantial lot. But Kakashi went from not being able to use his Sharingan like very often without feeling ill to be able to spam Kamui. So I think she was probably increasing her chakra, because compared to Sasuke and Naruto, she had very low levels, but she had high control. But I think after seeing Pain wreck the village is when I think she would focus on learning mastering the 100 healings, like she used it in the war arc. And I think using medical ninjutsu to fight like Kabuto. And so combine her strength with Kabuto's fighting style earlier of using chakra to like how Kabuto fought against Tsunade, plus with Tsunade's strength and the 100 healings. That, I think, was what she would focus on and become very strong after that point. And then at the point of the war, closer to the war, I think when they agreed to send Naruto away, to try and get him away and send him on fake missions, I think that would be the point where she would learn from Lee and Might Guy to use the 8 gates, and then later on, Sage Mode from Naruto. Or while she's learning that, I think she would probably talk to Naruto about Sage Mode, and I think she should learn them both. But I generally think she should learn Sage Mode after the War Arc, and by the War Arc, 100 healings, healer plus a taijutsu specialist, uses Kabuto's fighting style with Tsunade's, with her own strength, so Tsunade level strength, Kabuto's fighting style, 100 healings, and the 8 gates. Now, I don't think she'd use 8 gates. I think she'd probably use 3 or 4, and then, because she's, at this point, she'd be the strongest, apart from Naruto and Sasuke, like, out of the Konoha 11 or 12, and I think that's how she should use it. I'm going to go into more detail next week about Hinata, Ino, and Kakashi, but I also think Sakura should learn more Genjutsu, since we know she has an infinity for it, and I think she should have learned some Genjutsu, and I think most of that would have come after Pain. I think she would have learned a bit about Genjutsu and Taijutsu, like improved them, don't get me wrong, over the course of those 2 years, plus during Shippuden. Most of it, but I think after the Pain arc is when it really settles in. She needs to improve, and at that point, she would probably be a lot more. By the time of the war arc, she'd probably be a lot more powerful, and Naruto wouldn't be as needed due to due to Shikamaru and Kiba having Sage Mode. And I think they would probably have imperfect Sage, and then during the war, kind of maybe get to perfect Sage level. But the way I'd like it is they're struggling to sense the people. They can kind of sense Suzu, but they aren't as good as Naruto. Naruto comes along, saves them all. But then by the time of the big war, like the big fight, not the first one, they should have like kind of master it. And I think, but Sakura shouldn't have it yet. Anyway, next week I'll go into other characters and I'll make this sub-series. Well, no, actually next week I am doing a video on things I would like to happen during Season 14 of Doctor Who. Now, I know we have Season 13 coming up, but let's be honest, we're more interested in Russell T Davis's return, so yeah.